outside this time, so they weren't going crazy.
I did the same thing. Well, my little one.
Hey, everybody, welcome. I am so excited to introduce you to one of my favorite people from the show. She is an absolute beast, and I'm going to introduce her here in just a second. But I wanted to just take a minute and let you guys know that the people that I'm bringing on over the next couple of weeks are like all excellent people who have really done amazing things in their lives. And today is going to be a little bit different on purpose because I have a personal agenda, which was I heard things on the show that I want to hear more about. And were so inspiring to me that I feel like it can help you guys as well. So as you guys are tuning in, just know that today is going to be a little bit different. It's my pleasure to introduce Meagan Desart, who is one of the stars of the show, in my opinion. And she's an absolute beast. And I'm going to dig a little bit hard on her because I wanted to hear it. So, Meagan, you're a mom. At one point, you were a single mom. Are you still a single mom?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Mom of three, happily married, but definitely was a single mom at one time.
All right. And that's the part I wanted to dig in because I only got to hear, it was like a fragment of your story that I got to hear because we were on opposite teams. But you went through a lot of stuff in your life with drugs and being homeless. And I want to dig into that with you because it was so compelling to me that I wanted to hear more about that story. So if you wouldn't mind, just kind of unpack that for everybody, kind of introduce yourself and where you came from.
Sure.
And then we'll get into where you're at now.
Sure, absolutely. What's up, everybody? Hello, John's Network. Thank you so much, John, for having me on. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you. So my name's Meagan, as John mentioned, and I'm a mom of three. So I have an 18-year-old, a 13-year-old, and a 6-year-old. I am now happily married, and I live in Astoria, Oregon. And my life 18 years ago looked completely different before I was a mom, basically. So I got hooked up in the meth world when I was 16 years old and just had a lot of stuff going on at home during that time. Some abuse stuff. My dad was absent. My dad ended up telling me that he was gay and that he had AIDS. And then so as a 15, 16-year-old, I went through like this really kind of dark depression and had a group of friends at the time that were helping me escape that depression, escape my reality, basically, is what I was looking for. I was looking for an escape. And in that, I stumbled upon meth, which was a great escape, right? During that time, it was taking me way far out of my reality. And it was an instant addiction, actually. It was something that I never thought would happen or would come. I mean, I was a gymnast. I was a straight A student. Like I was doing very, very well as a child leading up to this. And it was something that really just took over. It took over my entire life. And my life spiraled. I ended up, being in a couple of rehabs before I was even 18, arrested before I was 18, in and out of my parents' house, my stepdad and my mom at that time, and ended up in a rehab when I was about to turn 18. And this is kind of where it really, really took a turn for probably the worst, is I was turning 18 in this rehab. And so I thought, well, I'm turning 18. All of my legal issues are going to just go away when I'm 18. So I escaped this rehab and I actually ended up living on the streets when I escaped because I was in a big city, like 3 hours away from my home, and ended up living on the streets for a while. And that's when I was homeless. I was a homeless meth addict and life just spiraled from there. Ended up in Seattle, again, homeless, a homeless meth addict, got in plenty of trouble, arrested several times, almost killed several times. And on my 21st birthday, I spent it in jail. And that I got out of jail, and a couple of months later, I turned 21 in November. I spent my 21st birthday in jail. I got out of jail back to the streets with no one, and was in, by the time Christmas came, I was like 2 days before Christmas, and I was in a gas station bathroom. I was 80 pounds. I was shooting up dope. I looked in the mirror and I thought, you're going to die or you're going to end up in prison. And that's your reality right now. And all of the dreams, and I'm trying not to get emotional, all of the dreams and hopes and aspirations that I had as a little girl, like I wanted to be a singer, I wanted to be an Olympic gymnast, like I had all of these big goals, and I was a firecracker as a kid. I was like a really awesome kid. All of that
firecracker.
Yeah, all of it came flooding to me in that gas station bathroom. And I had track marks up and down my arm. I had blood up and down my arm. I'm 80 pounds. I looked dead. I literally looked dead. And I thought, what the F are you doing? Like, this is what it's become. You're either going to die or you're going to go to prison. Because I was on, my next strike was 3 strikes you're out. I had 2 felonies at that point. 3rd strike, I was actually going to go to prison. It wasn't going to be these 30-day jail stints. It was going to be, you're in prison. And so I called my mom, who was 3 hours away, and I said, I'm ready. I need to come home. I'm ready to get clean. And she's like, yeah, I've heard this like 50 times, because she'd heard it. I'd gone into her house. She'd let me get clean. The minute I was clean, I was back on the streets using again. So this was like 55, right? And she's like, and I'm like, no, seriously, like, I am ready. I'm ready. I want to do this. Give me one last chance. And so she said, I'm on my way. So she drove 3 hours. I sat in the gas station bathroom and waited for her for 3 hours in the city of Seattle. And she came, picked me up and brought me home. And that was the day I got clean. That was the day I said no more to meth. I ended up moving back to Seattle. I moved in with my dad, made amends with my dad, went back to college. And, you know, I went through rehab then. I did some outpatient rehab, lots of counseling, lots of therapy. But when I was 21, that was the day that I said, I can't do this anymore. I've got to make a decision. I've got to make a decision to change my life. And 6 months later, I met someone and was pregnant. And my story doesn't really end there. Because that ended up being a very abusive marriage where I was almost beat to death and literally almost killed by the hands of at that time, my husband. And I had a 2-year-old at the time, and ended up getting out of that. But I was going through college through all that. I was going to college, and people would be like, why do you have bruises all over you? And just that whole domestic violence cycle. I didn't have self-worth at that time. I was just a drug addict. I was just homeless. I was a new mom, new pregnant, very young, still working on counseling and all the things. So I really didn't have a lot of self-worth at that time. And so it's not surprising that I ended up in a very toxic relationship, a very toxic marriage with someone who was very abusive. And literally I almost died. Like I almost died at his hands. And so I was able to get out of that, and really did from that point forward change my entire life.
Wow. That is such a crazy story. What do you think it was sitting in that bathroom, looking in the mirror? I mean, I see you. How old are you now, if you don't mind me asking? 40? 19 years ago, yeah. 80 pounds, looking in the mirror, 2 felonies. What was the breaking point? What was it about that particular moment that broke you in a good way to change your life?
I, at that point, was able to finally associate so much pain with my use.
Yeah.
Before that, past, present, and future. Like at that point, at that pivotal moment in my life, it was like my use has brought me so much pain in the past. It's bringing me so much pain right now. And if I don't do something, all I see is pain in my future. And I think that was it. Like it was that I had never done that before. My use at some degree was always the next hit was going to bring me joy, right? Or getting that next high was going to give me something. And I was no longer feeling like I wanted to escape my life anymore, but I felt like I need to finally start living it.
Yeah, man. So that's 21. And then just what, a year later, you're pregnant with your first child?
Yeah. Actually, it was less than a year. Yeah,
man.
Less than a year. Pregnant with my first baby.
Now, I don't know, because again, I'm filling in the blanks from what I heard on the show.
Right.
How much did that first pregnancy kind of help you? I mean, obviously, timing wise, and from what you're saying, person wise, maybe not the greatest, but how much did that help you on the journey of staying clean? How much did that change your priorities and your focus?
Oh, 1,000%. I always say if I had not gotten pregnant with Tor, I'm not sure that I would have remained clean even. I don't know.
Mm,
Like, I just don't know. The moment that you have a kid and it becomes your life is no longer your life, it's this
yeah,
person's life. It's not about me anymore. It's not
yeah,
about what Meagan wants to do. It was like I have someone that I need to take care of and make sure that their life is actually good. Yeah.
yeah. Did you go to rehab? Did your mom put you in rehab, or did you recover at your mom's house?
No, I actually, well, I recovered at my mom's house through Christmas. Actually, I was like sleeping that entire Christmas, and I was there for about 2 weeks. And then my dad was actually living in Seattle, and my mom's like, "You can't stay here." Her and my stepdad had already given me so many like chances to move in, move out, and my stepdad at that point was like, "You can't stay here." My mom was like, "You can't stay here." She's like, "So I either send you back up to the streets, or we try to make this a relationship with your dad and see if your dad will take you in." And so she drove me back up to Seattle, went to my dad's house, who at that point had really considered me dead. Like my mom was always the enabler. My dad was the one that was able to use tough love on me and say, no more money. Nope, you're dead to me. Or, as long as you're using, you're not. Yeah. And so we went there and that was a huge moment too for me with my dad, because he said, I was always a daddy's girl. My dad was always on a pedestal to me. And he looked at me and he said, you know what? When I go to the doctor's office and I see a young, beautiful doctor, I see your face. But you know what? When I drive by the street corner and the bums on the side of the road begging for money and there's a woman there, I also see your face.
Oh,
so
wow.
You get to choose. Which one are you going to be? Because I'm done.
Wow.
And so that was like, I'm like, no, I don't want to be the bum.
Right.
Yeah.
So, out of curiosity, what were you in college for?
Psychology. I went to school for psychology. Yeah.
Really? Now, did
Yeah.
you end up graduating and getting your degree?
Oh yeah, I have a master's degree in psychology.
No way.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, I went 7 years, so I was single mom for a long time. After I had my first son, single mom, was working full time, put myself through college for 7 years, busted my butt. I barely saw my firstborn. I was working full time Monday through Friday during the day. I was going to night school and weekend school. So he was at daycare and a lot of babysitters the whole time. Basically, I was in college. But I got my master's degree. So, hey, and then I worked in my field and I did very well. So
that's good. So I'm going to ask you a question in light of all of that, because that's like super traumatic, super inspiring, all wrapped up at once. So what makes you feel inspired now, having come through that, having accomplished all of that, come clean, without some sort of direct intervention, so what makes you feel inspired now?
oh my gosh, what makes me inspired now is I have an obligation, I feel like, to help other people cross through whatever struggles they're going through. And what inspires me is when I see the underdog or someone that has a similar past that I did, or trauma, whatever, doing something big, creating a new life, rewriting their story. That's what inspires me, is when I see other people doing it.
Yeah. I haven't asked anybody else this, but it fits here. If there could be a billboard with anything you would want to say on it, what would you say?
Oh dear, jeez, man, you really put me on the spot there.
It's just, your story is so like, from, at least for me, I have vastly different trauma, vastly different story.
Sure, yeah.
So when I hear, going from addicted to meth and living on the street to getting a master's degree in psychology, and then as successful as you are in network marketing, what's the billboard? What would be
turn your mess into your message? That would be the billboard.
Okay, cool. And what would you say that is the most important thing you've learned at this point?
Wow. The most important thing that I have learned is that you can literally create whatever life that you totally want to create. Like, it does not matter where you came from, where you've been, what your history is, what your past is, what your trauma is. Like, you can either play a victim, or you can and use it as an excuse, or you can use it as fuel to drive you into becoming something so much more than you even ever imagined. Like, that's the biggest thing that I've taken from it, is that if I can freaking do it, I mean, because looking where I was, like, it's almost like I am so detached from who that was, that it's like it was a different life or a different person. Like, it's hard for me to even go back to where I was, because it's been so long and I've gone through so much, that it's like, if I can do it, anyone can freaking do it.
Yeah. That's great. So, super crazy background.
Yeah.
Super accomplished. You know, getting a master's degree is a very small percentage of people in the country.
Sure.
Especially getting your master's degree as a single mom, without really a true support system, right? So why network marketing? What
Oh my gosh.
was it that-
Such a good question. Such a good question. Why network marketing? Okay, so fast forward to 6 years ago. I'm remarried. I have another son who's he's 13 now, but another son, right? So I had my two boys, and I am working at the government doing psychiatric evaluations for like severely crazy people. I'm working 12, 14-hour days. We were 365 days a year, 24/7 shop. I started graveyard. I was working graveyard shift. Then I was working in other crazy hours, always on call. Then I moved my way up to supervisor. So I missed then my second son's childhood. So my two boys, their childhoods, I was the mom who missed everything. I could never go to conferences. I could never go to Moms with Muffins. I left the house before they were even awake. I was leaving my house at 6:30 as they were getting up. And then I was getting home at 7 p.m. Well, let's do dinner, bed. Right. So
Right.
my boys got very little time with me.
Yeah.
And I was making great money at the government, master's degree in psychology, all the things, thought we had this great life. And then I got pregnant with my third child. So I'm remarried, and I got pregnant with my third child, found out it was a little girl, my only little girl. And I'm sitting pregnant, late stage pregnant, and it hit me like a ton of freaking bricks, man. I'm like, I'm going to have this baby. I'm going to get 4 months off. I'm going to go back to 14 hours a day. Daycare is going to raise her. I'm going to miss her first crawl. I'm going to get emotional shit. Her first walk, her first, I'm going to be the mom who misses everything. And it's my last child and my only girl. And I'm like, there's got to be another way. And I looked at my husband, I said, there's got to be a way I can do something and be present in their life, in my kids' lives. My boys were still, fairly young at that time too, 6 years ago. And I'm like, and make money from home. And my husband laughed at me because we had no clue what network marketing was. He's like, okay, well, if you can find something that's making six figures like you are at your job, good luck, more power to you. Right.
Right.
And I'm like, and I'm thinking, yeah, he's probably right. It probably doesn't exist. So I go on this quest for work from home online, and I don't really come up with much. Well, in the meantime, I have my baby, I'm on maternity leave, and I'm starting to try to lose the baby weight. So I'm doing a fitness program called Insanity. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yep, I have.
And so that's affiliated with Beachbody. So I'm doing that program, not knowing there's a business opportunity, that it was connected to network marketing at all, and doing this program. And I start posting my journey on social media just as a way to be accountable. That was basically it. Right. And I had someone reach out to me and said, oh, you're doing Insanity. Cool. I have this group that we're all doing it together. You want to join it? I'm like, I need accountability. Sign me up. Sure. I get in, I start doing it. I'm in this group. It's so positive. It's uplifting. And she's helping me and all the things. And then she's like, hey, you're like totally doing what I'm already doing. You're posting about your journey. You're inspiring people. You're in this group. Do you know that you can make money doing this? And I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, you can make money doing this online. You can become one of these things called a coach. And I'm like, sign me up. I didn't even do any research. Something in me in that moment when she said, you can make money doing this online, instantly in my gut, I was like, this is it. This is it. And I didn't know that it was it, but something in me said, hey, you want to bring yourself home? This is it. And I was like, it was just, okay, sign me up. And I dove in and I literally, I saw other people in network marketing. I discovered the world of network marketing and these moms that were staying home with their kids, making all this money online. And I'm like, oh, I could do this. Where I've been from and what I've gone through, if they can, and I thought, if they can do it, I can do it. Right. So I dug in, I put my head down. I was working crazy hours at the government, went back to work from maternity leave. I was building my network marketing business. I was waking up at 4:30 in the morning. I'd work my business for half an hour and then I'd do my workout and then I'd go to my job for 12 hours. I'd come home, I'd do dinner, bedtime with my kids. And then I was on my computer working my business until like midnight. My husband's like, oh my gosh, you're insane right now. Because my husband didn't understand it because at first I'm making $29 check, right? Then it was $100 check the next week. Then it was $150. And I'm like, this is starting to work, right? So I was burning the candle at both ends. I was waking up super early. I was going to bed at midnight, but I was on a freaking mission, man. I was like, I know I can do this. And I started to see the compound effect and start seeing it work.
Yeah.
And I remember that year, it was a year and a half it took me to bring myself home. But I remember coming home crying. I don't know how much longer I can do both of these. Oh my God. Like I was, because I was really, I was grinding it out. I was a 5%er instantly, it seemed like, because I had a big goal. I had a big why. I cried leaving my daughter at daycare when I went back to work for that year and a half. I literally would cry driving. I'd get to work. I'd be a mess. My boss is like, are you ever going to get it together? I'm like, no, I don't want to be with my daughter. And so I did. And so I worked really freaking hard. And after a year and a half, I brought myself home.
What did your friends and family think?
They thought I was nuts.
Yeah, they thought you were nuts, right?
But I was absolutely crazy. My husband at one point, a couple points, was probably ready to divorce my ass. I was working for the government. We have a PERS. We have a retirement.
Right.
The best health insurance. Like my family of 5, fully covered. We had to pay $0 in health insurance, dental, excellent coverage, like everything, right? The perfect job to outside people, right? It was the perfect career. Why would you leave that perfect career that you got a master's degree in psychology, worked your way up for years? That was your dream career. I was in my dream career before I knew network marketing for years, only to then quit to do something online. Are you crazy? My family thought I was nuts. And my parents were not for it. They really thought I was crazy. It wasn't until I actually... You were
what, 30, 34 at this point, 33?
Yeah, let's see. So I had Macy at 34. I think I quit my job at like 36-ish. Yeah, right. 30, yeah. Somewhere in there, 35, 36. Yeah, 36 or whatever. Let's say I'm 36 at the time that I quit.
I won't go too far into it, but I mean, just think about it. In less than 5 years, you went from 0 to 6 figures.
Yeah.
What, like outside of creating your own company, nobody else can do that anywhere else that I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a powerful story for anybody. If you could grind for a year, 2 years, 3 years, what if it was all 5 years?
Right.
You completely replaced your income, 6 figures, sitting at home raising your kids now.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's nuts.
So you go from a high level of success in traditional business to network marketing, and then play to win.
Yeah.
Why do you apply?
My network marketing career, it was interesting. So I brought myself home. I was with that company for 3.5 years, and I decided to part from that company, which I don't need to go into. And my company after that didn't do so hot. I did okay, but then it actually closed its doors. Okay. So during that time when it closed its doors, finding a new company, there was a little bit of a rough time financially there. And then I got with the previous company that I was with now. And that's when I then created that 6-figure income again. And I was at a point when Play to Win came like to light, to audition. I was at a point in my previous company where I was feeling At a crossroads. I was feeling a little bit stuck. I was feeling a little bit stuck with my career in network marketing, actually. I felt like I was at a time where I had created lots of success, but I felt like I needed some sort of breakthrough, some sort of level up to reach the next level. I had a team of 560 when I was getting ready to go on Play to Win. I was making, a 6-figure income a year. But I felt like I couldn't break past that for some reason. I felt like I want to be a 7-figure year earner. So it was the perfect thing. And I love Ray and Jess. I am a huge rank makers, had been in rank makers. He's the one that helped me create my 6-figure income the second time around in that last company. I had spoken on his stage. And so it was like, this was perfect. I want to be closer to that.
That's kind of what I was going to get to was you're already speaking on stage. You already have one of the most compelling stories. You're already speaking nationally. Why the hell would you do the show?
Yeah, I needed a breakthrough. Yeah. I needed a breakthrough. I needed, and I knew they were going to be hard on us. I knew that it wasn't going to be like, oh, we're here to be your friend, right? I knew they were going to put us through some things that I maybe had never experienced being put through that I needed to. And honestly, it was exactly what I needed. Since leaving the show, now I have a team of 6,000 versus 560. Right. I've quadrupled my monthly income. Like, it's been insane. So, and it was really cracking into the fact that I was not able to really be vulnerable with myself and with my team. And I think it was cracking that vulnerability in me on the show that's helped me then just like really 10x my business.
That's awesome. So speaking of the show, what was the most nerve-wracking experience for you personally on the show without giving away any vital details? We want to kind of wet the whistle so people watch.
I definitely probably think it was reading the forgiveness letter in front of cameras.
Oh, that was rough.
That was brutal. That was brutal.
I did not want to do that one.
I didn't either. And I don't even think I made it through Dear So-and-so before I was a sobbing mess. I'm sure I had snot dripping out. The whole letter, I'm bawling my eyes out. And I'm like, eek, they're going to show that?
Yeah. All right. So what was your favorite moment on the show then?
Oh, definitely the doing the pitch when we were getting blasted with water guns and water balloons. And that was probably one of my favorites. I think that was super fun. Yeah. Honestly, and just like meeting everyone and hearing all of your guys' stories. And it's really cool I could literally talk about network marketing all day. It's like become my biggest passion. And so being in a space for a few days with just other network marketers to hear, like, collaborate, talk about your past, talk about how you got into network marketing, that I freaking love. I could do that all day.
Yeah. So coming out of the show, obviously, because I've watched your journey after the show, you've had the breakthrough. But what do you think the greatest lesson that you learned on the show was?
The greatest lesson, just vulnerability, being able to be vulnerable with myself, because I'm very like, okay, I'm fine. Let's go. Right. Like, let's do this. And I don't take time to sometimes be vulnerable with myself and let myself feel things. And then being able to be vulnerable with my team, which I think me being more open with them and being more vulnerable with them, I think has fostered other leaders that wouldn't have been fostered had I not done that work. Sure.
All right. So I've done this with everybody because it's always interesting to get an inside perspective. Day one, we're all sitting around the couch. What's going through your head?
Oh my God, I was so nervous. I wanted to poop myself and vomit all at the same time. I was so nervous. I was like, not knowing what to expect, like, I want you to tell me ahead of time so I can plan and be on my best, and just knowing that it was going to get real and real raw, and none of us knew what was about to go down. I was just so nervous. And I think it actually, I let my nerves affect my experience for sure.
Yeah. It's interesting because uh, there were moments on the show that were so solidified in, I think, everybody's minds. Like there were just so many different
Right.
powerful moments that I think that we as a whole forgot what day one, sitting in that room, it's about to start, what was
Yeah.
really happening, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Totally. Think back and I'm like, God, it seems so long ago too. It just seems like it was like eons ago, but it really wasn't.
yeah. So everybody, I was sharing yesterday. So we have a private group where all the contestants are in. And one of the things that I've seen is a lot of people are very nervous about the upcoming show being
Sure.
released and how they're going to be portrayed and
Sure. Yeah.
editing. Are you nervous?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I would be lying if I said I wasn't. I'm super excited to see it. Like I just know it's going to be great. Like season 1 was awesome, right? But as a human and you're on it and you're going to be seen in front of a lot of people, yeah, of course it's nerve-wracking.
Yeah. So, the saving grace is that they really could probably only fit 6 to 8 episodes feasibly.
Yeah.
So, hopefully the snot dripping isn't part of the 6 to 8
I'm really hoping that's the case.
Right, there's only so much time,
Right.
So,
They can't get everyone reading their letter. I mean,
right.
that'd be too long.
So
So maybe I won't be in that one.
maybe you won't be on that one.
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't have enough snot, right?
Exactly. They're like, we can't even understand her. Let's not do that.
Yeah. So for everybody that's tuning in that will watch this or are watching this, why would you have them watch the show? What do you think the number one reason, whether they're in network marketing or not, that somebody should come and watch this?
Oh, you know what? I think it's just a really good growth learning experience for everyone to see the journey that someone goes through, working through personal growth, working through goals, working through forgiveness, working through all the elements of the show. It wasn't really just all around network marketing. It was really about how you can level up in all areas of your life, right? How to set goals. What do you need to do to get to the next level in your life? So I think that anyone watching the show, network marketing or not, is going to take away from it something that they've learned that they can go use in their real life.
27 contestants. And I don't know how much of everybody's story that they'll actually have time to see.
Right.
But taking a kind of backseat approach and looking in, I mean, I look at your story, I look at Ryan's story, Marilyn's story. We look, there's somebody's story in everybody's story.
Yeah.
I was really kind of surprised by the depth of character across the board when you looked at everybody. You know?
Same.
And there was even times on the show where I felt like I was pretty hard in my mindset until I heard the story, and then I was like, man, that totally makes sense.
Yes. Like, true. So true.
And to hear the story really changes your perspective on people,
It totally does. Yeah. It's just like, don't judge before you know what someone's been through, right? Like, I mean, people look at me and they're like, oh, must be nice. You're so successful. You have this family. I'm like, bro,
you didn't see the hell
what the hell I went through to get here, right?
All right. Because your personality, I'm going to ask you a question I haven't asked anybody else.
Oh, gosh.
I think you are a person that will make it an entertaining answer. As you looked across the room, who did you think was the biggest threat to you as far as winning the show and your competition?
Let's see. I felt like you were competition. I also felt like Kelly Ray Alight. And there was who else?
Kelly Ray.
John Pennington. I thought John Pennington was a threat. There was a lot actually. I thought there was a lot of people that are like, oh, they're gonna win. Yeah.
Yeah. Personality wise, like I'm that way. I looked around the room and I shared this the other day. One of the things that I decided, because when I found out that it wasn't just for coaching anymore, I was like, oh, so I really was like, okay, I'm not going to treat this as a pure competition where my only goal is to win. How can
Right.
I help other people? And I found myself in a difficult position because I was evaluating competition and also evaluating how can I help them succeed.
Oh, yeah, that is a tough position. Yeah.
And so as I looked across the room, I was like, oh man, this is gonna be harder than I thought it was. Because when you think about they're potentially hiring you,
right.
It's not about crushing everybody because now it's about leadership.
Yeah, totally. It takes
So
on a different light. Yeah.
yeah, and I knew because you're kind of like me in that regard. So you were stacking
Let's
people
do the
up.
same thing. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
man, it was so fun having you on, and I'm
Thank
so
you so
happy
much.
that I got to hear more of your story.
Yeah.
Because that was left unresolved for me because I didn't get to hear
Right.
just based on where we were at team wise
Totally.
much of your story, but it piqued my interest, and so I really wanted to hear more about it. And
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, the people that are listening, it's really an encouragement, I think, for everybody because you can, just like you have, go from nothing to being a person who's really creating your own destiny. And that's super encouraging. So I just want to thank you for coming on and being transparent.
For sure. Thank you so much. It's been so fun.
A couple more seconds, okay? I'm going to end, and then we'll chat for a second.